Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. Decided to make this video here at my inside of my office here instead of in my boardroom because I wanted to kind of go over some things that and I had a lot of notes up. A lot of people are asking about getting financial advice, how to handle their debt, how to get out of debt. And we just finished with a potential client that has suffered a heart attack, but his goal is to get himself out of debt. He doesn't have too much debt. I think it was about $17,000 worth of debt, and he wanted to see how we could help him with it. And uh, when we speak to people and when I talk to my reps, the way that I train them is that I always want to make sure that they understand that some of the times an individual might come to us and they're thinking about credit repair, but they're really in need of debt settlement and credit repair. And we want to make sure that people have the right type of expectations when they sign up with the service because, you know, debt, if you have debt collectors that are attacking you, yes, credit repair helps, but you need to also have something to deal with the debt collectors attacking you. Or no matter what happens, you can have, uh, our service do its job with the credit repair, but the debt uh, collectors or the original creditors are still coming after you for the debt. And that's why we like to tell people, and we're always upfront about it. And if you watch my videos about how we repair credit, we have an 8-point validation process and a two-phase settlement process. So I'll use this example for the client that just signed up with us, his situation. So he suffered a heart attack. He is working, recovered, but he has some accounts that just went bad, just, close to 17 grand. So he was signed up for a debt relief program, and there's nothing wrong with the debt relief programs, except for it was going to take an accelerated period of time for him to be able to pay off that debt. And what we told him is that in it's certain situations, some of them, if you have a lot of debt, it's gonna, it would be better for you to be in a debt settlement type program. But this individual only had really three debts, and two of them were big. The other one was small. So he fit our credit repair and debt settlement services. And we told him that we believe from experience, not just by saying it, that we would be able to save money for him during the process. And that what we would do is we would do the credit repair, but we would also work on settling those debts with the original creditors, and that payments could be going directly to them with a settled amount instead of going to a debt relief company and then they settle sometime in the future, that we can actually start working on this right now. And that he felt that that was a better solution. So we were quite clear that number one, we would work on the credit on other items that were already, either with collection companies that were outdated or incorrect, but with those original creditors that we need to deal with the original creditor balances first directly with them, and then we would work on the removal. And we told them that it would, it would either show paid for less or it would be removed. And he was good with that because we had that conversation and we were 100% upfront with him. So now I want to talk about financial responsibility. A lot of people, they will write to me and they would have comments about, no one taught me about how to handle my money. And I would, I'll tell them, and I've said it in videos, no one taught me about handling money. And if it was just about reading a book, like if it was so simple to just read a book and they would say, okay, don't spend more than what you're bringing in. If it was that simple, everybody would be able to handle their money. Even if they mismanaged their money, then they learned about that, they would be able to manage their money. See, this is the thing that you have to understand, and please listen to me clearly. This is very important. Is that the reason why you're spending money has nothing to do with you spending the green dollars, the money like that, or your credit card, or buying. There is something internal in you that is missing, that you are trying to fill up with that. We all do it. And there's nothing wrong with having good things, but there is a time that you have to uh, become aware that what you're doing is not putting you in a good situation, and that you need to understand that if you continue spending your money, there's going to come a time where all of this stuff's going to come together. You're going to be a certain age, and the older you get, the harder it's going to be for you to maintain your income, unless you have businesses, unless you have investments. That it's going to be very hard. So what I tell people to do, which is exactly what I told myself to do and what I actually put into action, is that you need to think about the future, but you need to take care of the now. Because a lot of people get stuck saying, I'm going to do it in the future. And then a lot of people get stuck in the past from the mistakes that they made, and they never think about what they can do right now. So let me tell you some things that you can do right now to help yourself financially. Is that number one, you need to set goals. So many people move through life without setting goals. And that's a problem because and when I was doing my research on this, I looked at some stats, and I typed in how why do Americans quit so fast? And that was just the question that I had, and it came up with an answer that I didn't even think was the I wasn't expecting that answer. What is the percentage of Americans that you believe when they start something that they would actually finish? Like they started to work on their finances. They started to work on their credit. They started to work on losing weight. They started to work on getting a better job. They started on different things in their life. What percentage of Americans do you think actually accomplish it? Less than 1%. Less than 1%. And it said that within 6 months, almost 95% of the people have quit. And that really within the first 2 weeks, people's mind already start to move towards quitting. Like we have a huge problem. People say that in America we got a problem with spending money and we got a problem with politics and all that stuff. Really in America we have a problem with quitting. Like we have a huge issue with quitting. I always tell my children, I tell myself, me and my wife agree on this stuff, is that if we start something, we're going to finish it, even if it fails. Even if it fails, because if you will never know if you're going to accomplish something, especially something that's very difficult to accomplish, unless you go from start to finish. Because there's some things that I've started in my life, and I didn't think it was going to succeed, and then all of a sudden it succeeded. Like it look, you cannot see around the corner. I forget whose quote that was, but they were like, success is around the corner. And the problem with people, the problem with humans, is that you can't see around that corner. You can't see through that wall. You can't see through that mountain that you got to climb. So what most people do is they quit. They take the easy way. The easy way, if you can imagine, you're going up a mountain and you're paying off debts. Like you know that if you get up to the top, you've paid off your last debt. The easy thing to do though is to turn around and go back down the mountain, because you don't have to work at going back down. But you're gonna have to work and you're gonna have to go through obstacles and do things to keep moving up. So the first thing you need to do is you need to set financial goals. You need to be clear on those goals. What my wife and I did is we said we're not gonna spend money on other stuff. We're gonna stop that today. Another thing that my wife and I agreed on is that we will only spend money without telling each other if it was on something like gas for the vehicle. I started taking my lunch to work because we were like, we're going to stop spending money. And because you will find that really a lot of your extra money is going on shopping, when just buying stuff either online. Back then in the 90s, when we had our going through our stuff, the internet didn't exist. So we were just going to stores and spending. Now people got the internet, can spend online, sit there and just go buck wild spending money. But you have to stop. But you also have to do it in a way that you can keep enjoying life. So, and really the only way you can do that is to set up those financial goals. And then the next thing is to create a budget and say, this is what our expenses are to keep our household stable. This is the extra money we have, but maybe you don't have any extra money. So then you're going to have to cut to make sure that you make a budget. You got to make that to just break even. Your net income, what you bring home after taxes, the money, the dollar amount on your check is your net income. If you own a business, then you know how to figure that out. But for people who are working for someone, the net on your check is your net income. And you need to balance that against your budget. And if you are over budget, then you have to start doing things to trim it down to get where you're even. And then you can start doing things to become positive to where you're actually keeping money. Right now, most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That means that they're either breaking even, but even a higher number of those are really not paycheck to paycheck because they use credit cards to be over their debt amount. So they're actually spending more than what they're bringing in. So the next thing is you need to build an emergency fund. This is important because when you have an emergency fund, it will stop you from getting credit to pay for something like a car repair. It'll stop you from getting credit to pay for a repair on the house. It'll stop you from getting credit to have to get something for the kids or to pay for the deductible on your medical stuff like that, or for some medication. The way to start saving an emergency fund is just to start saving. I had gave a mission to my children when they asked me about saving money, and I told them the same way that I was taught to save money. And as a matter of fact, I didn't learn how to save money until I was in my 20s, and one of my business associates told me how he saved money. He was like, Steve, no matter what with your business, you break off a piece for yourself and you put that away, and then you take off a piece that you can spend on stuff that you want. And I had never thought about it that way. At that time, what I was always doing was just leaving the money in the account and just buying stuff. But and so I never did really know where I was with everything. I really just didn't know. And when he told me that, after my wife and I had, made our decision in 1994 to stop living that way in debt and start working on our debt. And just so you know, it took us 5 years, 1994 to 1999. So I can attest to not quitting fast, to letting stuff go, and just imagine to how hard it would be to keep going and grinding $300,000 worth of debt and just not knowing when this whole thing was going to end, because the creditors had to make certain decisions and some of them would hold out. They just would not make any decisions. So, and you can't force them to do it. So, but we kept grinding and grinding. And all of a sudden, when 1999 came, it was like it went by fast, because no matter what, time is going to pass. So what you do in the present is what's going to make how valuable you spent your time. And when it adds up, you'll be like, I really accomplished something. But for that emergency fund, by doing that, by taking my business associates' advice, I was able to build up really a lot of money, because we had already stopped just blowing our money, and then we just started saving money. And it just, because I own the business, I admit it did add up quicker than what, if you're working at a job. But regardless, it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you blow your money, we see basketball and football and hockey and singers and actresses and actors all blow their money, and they all make way more money than we did, and they blow their money. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. But one of the exercises that I gave to my children and to some of my employees is I just said, practice spending money. And I said, can you save $5? $5 a week. All of them, yeah, I could save $5 a week. Well, you know that, and I'm not going to mention any names, but a few of them did not even accomplish saving $5 a week. So you got to get into the habit to save money, to build an emergency fund, to stick to a budget. All of this is going to be habit building, and depending on how focused you are on accomplishing the goal that you want, it's going to take some work and it's going to take some time for you to get used to living with that. And then the next thing you need to do is you need to manage your debt. If you can't continue spending money that you don't have, and you need to understand the reasons why you're spending money. Like, why go get another pair of shoes when you already have the same pair of shoes or a similar pair? See, that's why I said it's a lot harder to stop people to teach them financial, you know, to get them to start thinking more on a financial level, to change the way that they're spending their money, because you don't buy those shoes because you for the money. You buy them shoes for because of how it makes you feel, and we don't like to feel bad. And so when you stop and you start to manage your money, there's some things that you're not going to be able to spend money on, some things that you're not going to be able to spend money on, and you're not going to feel good about it. And you know how we are when we don't feel good about something, it makes us more susceptible to quit doing what we're doing. But I just gave you some data. You can look it up for yourself. Don't be in that 95 and 99% of the people who are quitting. Get yourself into that 1%. The next thing is you need to start thinking about investing in the future. Uh, Depending on if you are a business owner or maybe you work for someone and you don't think you're going to own a business, you need to start looking at different ways that you can invest a little bit of money for the future, because that time will come. The way that I've done it is I have several businesses that bring me income. Even if I decided to retire today, those businesses will bring me income. And then I have properties, not residential. I have commercial properties that have very good value in them. And then I have other investments. I'm in and out of the stock market right now, out of the stock market, and I look at other investment opportunities. But mainly, the way that I do it is I look at different businesses that I would like to get into, not to where I would have to do the work, to where I would be able to get a staff to be able to do that work. And then at some point, maybe I would sell that business or just keep the business and maybe pass it down to my children, or let the employees end up buying that business, and then they can end up working that business. So there's several, you can see I have several in investment opportunities available to me when I do decide to retire. But if you are not in that position, you need to think about investing. Most people investment is in their home, and that is a very good investment, because that is a good way to save your money and get a return on it. But even if you just paid it off, it's a very comfortable place for you to live, and you can also sell it and then move downsize to something smaller. Because it is harder for the older you get to move around. But you can see that that would be a good investment. And so don't start thinking too big. Look at just putting a little bit away if you're working, just a little bit, just a small amount, because again, you got to get used to doing it. You got to get used to not thinking that it's like going to McDonald's when you make an investment. It takes time for an investment to show itself. So you got to get used to contributing, and then it will pay off. And remember what I said earlier, time is still going to pass. So what are you going to do with today? What are you going to do today that will end up paying off over time? And time is really flying. The next thing is you got to just keep practicing living within your means. You got to do it. You got to practice it. You got to stick to it. You got to just say it. Like, let me give you an example. One of the things that I remember, there was a car. Yeah, this was a long time ago, but it sticks to my mind because of how the salesperson tried to deal with my wife and I. When we got our financial heads in order, uh, and we were still very young, so I think that that was the reason why this sales rep was, trying to, you know, bully us in a way. We went to go buy a vehicle, and at that time in the 90s, I was still delivering for our publication. We had that our weekly advertising publication. We needed a new vehicle that can also, I can put the magazines in to deliver, for the business. And we went to go get a Tahoe. This it is stuck in my mind so much that I even remember what type of vehicle it was. And we were like, okay, it's a very nice vehicle, but because we were of sound mind financially, we said, well, what are the terms? How much for the vehicle? It brought us out all that information. We said, we're not. This is not a deal for us. And you said, well, we ran your credit, you're approved, all of this stuff. All you have to do is sign. This is your payment. This is the no, because you know how they'll do that little switcheroo in there. We said, no, we're not going with the deal. And me and my wife had made a commitment, years ago that hey, we're not going to fall back into these traps. And we did not take the vehicle. And he was upset. He said, how can you bag out? You can't bag out. Who do you think you are? This is a place where we're the customer. And this is how he started talking to us. But obviously, if I was older, he wouldn't. We were still in our 20s. So he probably thought that he could bully us into getting the vehicle. We got our kids, our three daughters, and said, we're out of here. And we did not buy from that place, and we never bought from that dealership. We never bought from that dealership. But that is where you practice living within your means, because we knew that number one, it was over. The deal was not good because they make you think that they're doing you a favor by getting you approved, but the amount for the vehicle was not good, and the payment uh, did not coincide with what we had within our budget of us living within our means, and so we turned it down. We walked away from it, and to let you know how serious we were about it, I ended up buying a cargo van, and this was in the late 90s. I ended up buying a cargo van, and on that cargo van, on the driver, this is a serious, real story. On that cargo van, I think I bought it for $2,000, but it on the bottom, the you could see the road. And when I was driving that during the winter, my feet were so cold. My feet were so cold. But I appreciate going through that type of stuff because number one, when I when I had started hiring delivery drivers for my business, I was like, hey, I know that it's cold out there, and I would just tell them, hey, this is what I went through, and your vehicle is way better than mine. I'm paying you to get the job done, and I had a team of delivery drivers. I think it was like six drivers. That I used to do the job of six delivery drivers, and so I would tell them, hey, it's six of y'all doing six routes. There was a time that I used to do the whole route. My wife and I would do the whole route, so we know how what you're going through. But I don't want no excuses. But that was one of the times where we didn't just talk to ourselves about how we're going to live within our means. We actually put that into action when someone challenged us. And so when you go into stores, can I help you? And they try to get you to spend money on stuff. Maybe you are there to buy some things, but they will try to get you to buy, some more things. So you got to be very careful. You got to understand, though, there's triggers in your mind that'll make you just start buying. And the next thing is education. Pay attention. Read books. The books will be good on getting different ideas. No one is a know-it-all on finances. That's why there's so many books out there. Continue watching my channel. Obviously, if you've been watching me that I'm going to give you the real on this stuff, and just continue educating yourself. And I'm going to be coming out with a product very soon that's going to really give some down home cooking on financial literacy. 'Cause I think that that's something that we need to pass on, number one, to our community, and then number two, pass that down to our children and help a lot more people with that, because you never know what's going to be happening with our economy. Well, hey, I hope that you appreciate this video. Please, if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my two-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations, for debt that is past the legal statute of limitations to collect, my cease and desist collection activities letter to question debt collectors 100% on the debt that they're trying to collect that they purchased from someone. You can stop them. And my debt validation letter to go back and forth. I do ask for a donation on that. It helps monetize my time for making the videos here on the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments, share this video. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and Founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.